my Dodge Demon here. She's lived quite the eventful life.
A while back, it had a little fire, and by a little fire, I mean it burnt completely to the ground. But I bought it from the salvage auction, spent a year restoring it, despite a brief period where it was on fire again. Things have went pretty well.
Except for the fact that it doesn't start, run, drive, or, do anything else a car is supposed to do.
You see, when I got the bright idea to run a manual transmission in this build, I had no clue how hard that was going to be to accomplish. To make a long story short, I had to rip the car completely back apart and rewire it from the ground up with the electrical system out of a manual 2018 Hellcat.
The good news though, it worked. Yes! There we go. It cranks, which means it should start, at least once we put the rest of the car back together. Now, there are still a few issues we have to work out. This whole wiring swap fixed our biggest problem, but it created a few others. Inside our fuel tank, we have a dual fuel pump setup, which is standard on the Redeyes and Demons, but the regular old Hellcat we took this wiring setup out of uses a single fuel pump, meaning we have to get creative to power the second pump. This conversion harness, though, should allow us to do exactly that. Generally, these are used to power aftermarket fuel pump setups in really big horsepower cars, but I'm thinking with a little modification, we can get it to work on the factory setup too. Now, this isn't going to be quite as straightforward as I was originally hoping it was going to be, and I'll explain why once we get this out and try to make some sense of it. On our factory dual fuel pump setup here, we have a total of 6 wires coming in, a gray and black for one pump, a red and yellow for another pump, and then we have the level sender wires. This ball of copper was the Redeye harness that was in the car previously, and this is our fuel pump connector. On said fuel pump connector, there's 6 wires. Power and ground for one pump, power and ground for another, level sender. The math's mathing perfectly fine until we get over here to the single fuel pump wiring harness we have in the car currently. There's also 6 wires. I don't understand why. Sure enough, if we key on ignition, both those pumps fire, and it really doesn't make any sense. What I at least think that means is if we were able to get proper voltage to all these wires, we should be able to run dual fuel pumps with a factory unmodified harness. But getting that proper voltage, I think that's where the whole problem comes in. This little black box in the trunk is the driver that controls the fuel pump, and on a single fuel pump car, we have one. I'm sure you see where this is going. On our Redeye harness here, we've got a pair of them. I'm assuming that at idle, yeah, sure, maybe a single driver can power both fuel pumps, but when it's game time and we need a lot of fuel, we're gonna need 2 of these. So what this harness is gonna do, it's gonna take the signal that was going to this one fuel pump driver and duplicate it. Now we're gonna give this new module the power and ground so it has some extra juice to put to the pumps. Our power is gonna loop around here to the fuse box. There we are.
Is it ready yet?
Does it look ready? Nothing about this looks ready. We got our power, we got our controller, now we just need to get it to the pump, and I'm thinking the cleanest way we can do this is deep-in our extra fuel pump connector. The last piece of our fuel puzzle here, hopefully at least, is getting our newfound power to one of these pumps in the tank. What I did was ran a continuity test on this factory top hat to see where the wires come through on the backside. You can tell by the very crudely done diagram there. What I'm thinking we're gonna do is use that auxiliary harness to power what I'm calling pump 2. There's our ground and our positive. We're pinned correctly. I suppose we'll find out if it's actually right in about a second. Just to make sure we have this right, I unplugged our new harness, so when Fernando leans over, hits the start switch, we should hear one pump and one pump only turn on. Go for it. All right, I believe only this pump fired. Now, the real test. All right, cross your fingers, guys. Let's see if both of these fire up. I think you can kind of see these black hoses move when they do. Hit it, Fernando. Oh, yeah. It's spraying fuel. That's firing.
Fire it up!
Well, not yet, but we'll get there in a second. I'm sure you guys are probably wondering why coolant's coming out of a bucket, not a proper sealed container. Well, I've been spending a little bit of money lately. We gotta cut costs where we can. Like I said.
I'm just crossing my fingers that everything goes smooth because this is finally the day.
Finally. Yeah, the whole going smooth thing, that's another story. But the fact that we're gonna hit that button and for the first time something's expected to happen here, I don't even know what to say. I'm out of words for it. Let's just do it. This is wild. Wild. It's been over a year. All the trouble we've had with this car, it's finally time. Why am I so nervous? Like, at this point, what's the worst that could happen? It burns down again, we rebuild it again. I mean, okay. You want to count it down?
3, 2, 1. Clutch.
Why is it not cranking now?
Oh.
What the f...
You can hear like a relay over there.
Yeah, you can hear something. Hold on, it cranked not that long ago.
Don't say that.
This is not how this was supposed to go. Yeah, when I said I was nervous about this whole thing, it was because of what was going to happen when it starts. I did not think that this was a possibility. We haven't changed anything since it cranked. I mean nothing except this. So the only thing I can come up with at this present moment is that those 4 wires powering that one pump that I couldn't make sense of, the factory wiring diagrams, which don't make a ton of sense for the fuel pump, do list this as a reference and a reference return. It acts as a power and ground, though, to the pump, so I don't know. This is my best guess. If it's the only thing we changed, it's the only thing that can be wrong, right? All right, we just undid everything it took us all day yesterday to do in a matter of like 3 minutes. Now I'm not even worried, I'm just annoyed. Well, it wasn't that. For lack of better terms here, we're basically trying to reset the ECU. I don't know if this is going to fix it, but it's possible from the battery having power dying, us messing around a little bit back there. Maybe something got screwed up. Maybe a fresh ECU right is exactly what it needs. Oh my God, how does this keep happening with this car?
And just like that, we're back to square one, looking for something, anything, to explain why it won't crank. We looked for bad connections, broken wires, blown fuses. There was just nothing obvious wrong with the car. Yeah, I know a bad starter would have made way too much sense. At this point, we were just swapping out random parts from other cars, hoping something would do the trick.
Clutch in and gear.
Absolutely nothing. But then we tried to bypass the starter relay and power it directly just to hear something.
When we jump the starter from a known good power source, instead of cranking like it should, the intercooler pump comes on. This bit of weirdness we have going on there kind of suggests a bad ground rather than a lack of power. So we got to thinking what could have possibly changed from the last time a few days ago when we cranked this car till now grounding wise. We didn't disconnect anything, we didn't cut any wires, but I think we might have figured it out. I looked back at one of the videos I have from when this car did crank and noticed that this ground was on the engine, not the chassis. Face value, that doesn't really seem like a big deal, but when you consider that this very important and very large grounding strap is not on this car, but rather was in a box up on a shelf, yeah, it's probably a big deal. It's gonna work. I'm confident. If it doesn't, we're burning this freaking thing to the ground again. 3, 2.
4.
Every jump box in the shop here.
We got 4? All right.
4. The things we'll do to not have to order a battery. This is like the 9th time you guys have watched me hop in this thing saying it's gonna start, but it's really gonna start this time. F***ing right! Finally! Finally! Oh my God! Finally happened! Finally! All right, we should make sure nothing's wrong. Yeah, she's smoking a little bit, but look at the back. Holy hell. gonna come?
No!
Everybody's running away. I don't understand why. All right, we got the whole celebration out of the way. Why is it smoking so bad? I don't really have any throttle response.
What was it?
It's the supercharger belt's rubbing on the clamp. And
Oh.
it's shorting the belt.
It f***ed this shop up. But hey, it starts. It's, oh my God. I don't even know what to say. It's well over a year. This is awesome. I don't care how much it's smoking. I don't care what else we have to do. We got to put that ground strap on. For this to happen on today of all days, when, full disclosure, I didn't plan on touching this car. I was in here working on something else. I just couldn't keep walking past this and ignore it. I ended up messing with it and things snowballed and, well, here we are. The fact that just randomly choosing a different ground location for this jump box is what threw this whole thing out of whack. It's annoying, but at this point, I don't even care because it runs.
Now we just have to make it run well, which I'm pretty sure we can do with a quick change of fuel.
Gas station, battery, ground.
And then,
Sir, let's do it. There is one more thing, and I suppose now's as good a time as any to tell you. Holy shit. Oh. Woo! Residual fuel in the fuel rails. Something you should probably watch out for if you're cranking a car for the first time. Oh, and you should probably make sure it's not in gear as well. All solid advice. Well, it is a brand new day, and now that the high of this thing starting for the very first time is kind of worn off, just a little bit, I'm more concerned about why it's smoking so bad. Now, I'm still pretty positive that it's the fuel. Your normal gas, 93 octane in the US, is roughly 10% ethanol. Ethanol is alcohol basically made from corn. E85 is 85% alcohol and only 15% gas. It's great for boost. It makes a lot of power. The downside is you have to use a ton more of it. Now, why this is relevant in this scenario here, the engine computer, it's now calibrated for E85, which means we're dumping E85 proportions of 93 octane into the engine, which again is 20 or 30% more than we need. It should make sense, but I'm still kind of worried. If there's ever something that's gonna burn this car down, it's definitely this, right? This terrible contraption we've just made to siphon the gas out of the tank.
it's a professional method. Well, I know what you're talking about.
Okay. Look at all that junk down there in the bottom of the tank. See if we can suck that out. Oh yeah, there we go. Probably destroying that $5 Amazon fuel pump. Now I think we've officially got every last drop. And I don't know, how you feel about this, Fernando?
That color is kind of suspicious. Like, I don't know.
Still smells like gas. I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely pretty disgusting. And this is from that purple Redeye that we bought at least 9 months ago. It was sitting for who knows how long before that. I don't know. I'm optimistic this E85 is gonna fix it.
How do you think it's gonna be the MPG with this thing?
It's gonna be the GPM, not the MPG, all right? I think we're ready for round 2 here, and we're gonna try to be a little smarter about it this time. If it'll move under its own power, we're gonna pull it right outside so we keep the shot workable this afternoon. It's driving, sort of. I don't know how well it's driving. Oh, it's driving. It's driving. I should probably take it back. I have no clue if stuff's leaking. The coolant's open. Yeah, let's take it back. Holy sh! We just drove the demon. It drives.
Everything looks good.
jumping something, there's gonna be stuff spraying. No, everything looks really good. I think there's a way to find it on the dash or on the radio, but here in our VCM scanner, 77.7 pounds of oil pressure. Gucci. I know I just have this stupid look on my face right now. I'm happy. If I don't find an intersection to destroy right now, things aren't gonna go well. One thing that I did immediately notice upon driving, that mirror that is definitely locked in place, it's not melted in place at the right angle. I can't see anything. I was able to find these gauges on the screen here. The boost pressure, that works. The intercooler coolant temperature, that is absurdly high. And I don't know if that means the pump's not working, even though we heard it recently. It's got fluid in there, but I don't know, that doesn't look like that fluid's moving. This isn't even hot. Yeah, that's cool. The heat exchanger cool, lines lukewarm. I don't think that pump's turning on, and it makes sense because we have a code here from invalid data received from charge air coolant pump. I know that's a mouthful. The intercooler pump I put on this car was something I took off a silver 2015 Hellcat way back when. But after a little bit of research, it turns out though the pumps are physically the same and even the pinouts are the same, the 2015 to 2017 pumps aren't compatible with 2018 and up wiring systems. Assuming that information is correct, the intercooler pump might pulse, it might make a little noise, but it's not gonna operate as it should. There we are. Not only is this thing supposedly the wrong pump, it also doesn't really look that good. The inside of the pins, they're really corroded looking. Either way, not a problem, because we got the perfect donor car. She's back, here to save the day for the demon once again. Now, if you haven't seen this car before, it means, first and foremost, you're not subscribed to my channel, and what better time than now? I'll put a link in the description. Go watch this video. It's one of the best buys I've had in quite some time. But two, and more importantly, now that the Demon is almost done, we can get working on this thing, and truthfully, it's probably gonna be a cooler project than the Demon. I have something wild in store for this. What I found out in my whole 45 seconds of Googling about this issue is that the newer versions have a yellow tag. Looks yellow to me, should work. Now, if this works as it should, when I hop in here and turn it on accessory, we should hear that pump run. I don't hear anything. Maybe we need to start it. You guys are gonna have to take my word for it because I am positive you can't hear it. But if you squeeze the hose, you can feel a vibration. I am 99% sure at least this is running. I know this is rare, but we decided to use our brains for once. If you pull the power to it, it stops immediately. We're good, we got it, it's fixed. After so long that this car was just a nightmare, and that's probably putting it lightly, to fix stuff and have it work is a very odd feeling. But I'm not complaining, I love it. also can't believe this thing's on a public street. Man, I'm not one to really get sentimental about cars. I know this is kind of a piece of junk. It makes no sense whatsoever to rebuild a chassis that was in this kind of shape. But the fact that if we didn't do something so stupid, this demon would surely be in a scrap heap right now. It would have never saw the road again. That means something to me, and I'm quite proud of it. Now that's quite enough about our feelings. The goal here wasn't just to make this thing drive on a public road, it was to make it drive really, really well. And it does. Trust me, I was shocked as well. Suspension from like 7 different cars, not an alignment rack in sight, and it just drives awesome. At least from a rolling down the highway standpoint. Now there's a ton of work we have to do before we can even think about laying into this, before we can do a burnout or have really any fun at all. We data log this entire trip, that way we can take it back to the shop, make the necessary adjustments, and then hopefully have some fun. And by fun, I mean the dyno. So we can see if this car is actually gonna make any power, as long as this hunk of shit doesn't break on the way back to the shop, which, don't get me wrong, is at least fairly likely. I'll see you guys at the dyno. All right, just crank it over one time. I need to get a part number off this thing, and I don't want to pull the belt until we have the other one here to replace it. Again. One more? Oh yeah, there we go. Well, I guess I'd rather the belt shred now than own the dyno. Either way, we got to go hunt down some belts pronto. All right, we have ourselves an assortment of belts here, the size that was originally on the car, and a few that are just a bit smaller so we can get this hunk back on the road. And you know what? You look sharp today.
Did it look different too?
I don't know what it is. Looking good this morning.
Probably the gym is already kicking in,
It's
right?
gotta be.
Okay.
After thinking over all the reasons this could have possibly happened, I'm thinking it's because we have all this room left in the tensioner. This is a replacement belt for a stock size upper pulley. That left some slack in the belt. The longer the belt, the less the tensioner is tensioning, which is probably why it jumped off. Look at that. Complete destruction all the way around. That's nasty.
Demon power, you know?
Demon power, yes. So I'm thinking we're gonna start with the smallest one, and if we can fit it on, this should do the job. It's almost a ½ inch smaller, which doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it is. Now, because of this unexpected failure, it really cut into my time to tell you about the new special edition, if you will, demon shirts I made. I was gonna give you guys the rundown about how I made special shirts just because we got the demon running. Now I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be able to tell you guys that they're for sale at leasecparts.com or that there's a link in the description. I was hoping to tell you guys how nice and high quality these things are and hopes you guys would be just as pumped as I am about them, but instead we got stuck here fixing a belt, which I think we did. That tensioner is much more centered now, and I'm thinking if we have problems with this one too, we can even go a little bit smaller. But just for now, we're going to hope this one works, go do a little more data logging, and hopefully see you at the dyno. This is the day I've been waiting for so long now. Since we fixed this belt issue, we've just been chasing down really minor but tedious problems with the car. We got it running, we got it driving pretty much flawlessly at this point. We even drove it here today in the rain. Not gonna say that the drive was fun by any means. At this point, I have no clue what the car is gonna make. 600 horsepower, 800 horsepower, 900 horsepower, I don't know. Let's do our first pull, see where we're starting at, and go from there.
Way too loud!
I can't hear anything, holy. The first one's the one we gotta be nervous about, and it didn't blow up. It looks like it's still intact, there's no holes in anything. 809 horsepower. Now, we should make more than that. We're just getting started, but how can we be mad at that?
So what's your guess now?
I don't know, run number 2, thinking we pick up 20, 30 horsepower. Let's find out. What do we do?
Less?
Maybe it's hot. That is going to be the #1 thing we're fighting against today, the heat soak on this car, because remember we're on stop cooling system.
$826.
All right, right, so we're getting there. Now, I think stock Demons make something like 720, 740 horsepower on the race PCM and 100 octane. But this, we already have that covered by a good bit. And yes, I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're sending the power through a manual transmission and not the 8-speed automatic that was, well, formerly in this car. Are we joining the 1,000 horsepower club today? Absolutely not, but it feels so good to have driven this car here on the street, making dyno pull after dyno pull after dyno pull, no issues. This is what all this work's been for. All the cussing, all the stressing, all the problems, the parts delays, the constant issues. It's worth it. It's all worth it. I think we might have found our limitation here. We've been consulting with Flying Ryan Performance on the electrical side of this build today, and it looks like fuel pressure up top is dropping off just a little bit. Now, we have plenty of injectors, but we do still have the stock fuel rails in those stock fuel pumps we installed earlier. And because of that, I think we found the limitation of how high we can turn it up, today at least. But we're gonna give it one more run, and whatever number shows up on that screen, that's what she makes. 822 horsepower. So I guess we technically beat a stock Demon by like 100, but at this point, I don't care about the number on the screen. We get to drive this thing out of here. It's in one piece. The build's finished.
It's
Finished?
success.
Successful.
We can call it.
Yes, this is much success.
You know what's funny? You say, I'm just gonna make this thing drive. It's gonna go to the dyno. And now I know that you want more horsepower.
What gave it away? All right, so the engine's built to handle a lot more horsepower, which means clearly, as happy as I am right now, we gotta go for it. We can remedy the limitations in the fuel system. We can add a desperately needed icebox in the trunk. And then there's nitrous. But all that, didn't expect that. That's a problem for another day. Right now, there's more important business to attend to. Gear. 820 horsepower, what's this thing weigh? 4,500 pounds? 4,131 pounds. 150 pounds lighter than a stock Demon and just a really horrendous weight balance to go along with it.
Feels faster than I thought. It doesn't feel less sketchy than what I thought.
It feels like good, even though when it broke loose in third gear, it's straight.
Yes, ain't scary at all.
How is this car not scary? It drives so well.
Yes.
I don't get it. We still haven't got an alignment on this thing. Believe it or not.
That's a fair point.
I know that's stupid. You guys definitely shouldn't do that. You build a new car, you get an alignment, don't go out beating on it. But the thing is straight as an arrow. There's not even any weird like creaks, groans. The roof hasn't popped off of it yet. Every light on the dashboard's on right now. We are definitely low on gas, but the thing's just awesome. It still works so well.
How are Mopar guys now?
That's a good question. I mean, I do like this thing. I don't think I'm really a guy with a Mopar anymore because I'm a guy with like 5 Mopars at this point. There are some you guys haven't heard of at all yet. One you'll hear of, well, today. And yeah, more in the works. F it. Apparently, we're Mopar guys. What more can we possibly say about the Demon? We did it. We brought it back. I know it took a while, but to make up for it, I'm dropping a brand new Demon power build right now. The link's in the description. Thank you so much for all the support you've shown. I could not have done this without you. As for what's next with the Demon, I don't know. Let me know what you guys want to see. I'm thinking we spray the out of it. Alrighty, see you next time. You could literally get hit by this car and your hair won't move an inch.
Yeah, exactly.
Shirts that I made just to celebrate the Demon get running. Get running? What the f? I kind of look like a f***ing maniac when I said that, right? I felt like one too. It's like nitrous.
Nitrous.
Nitrous.